Join us for our upcoming fundraiser, A Feast for the Senses, at Ardmore Music Hall on September 29th to help HRN expand our table and provide even more resources to the next generation of food storytellers. This is going to be an unforgettable night of flavors, crafted by Best of Philly chefs Randy Rucker and Eli Collins, with sounds curated by Philly-based Spaga featuring Aaron Magner, and conversations inspired by delicious City Philly host Eli Kulp. You can find tickets at heritageradionetwork.org/feast. And if you can't make it to our fundraiser, please consider donating to support our education programs at heritageradionetwork.org/donate.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
Want to taste a flight of rare agave spirits at Rick Bayless's award-winning Bar Sotano? Or on La Barca Cantina, the storied taco boat touring New York's Hudson River? Or do you want to drink a special lager from the Maine Beer Company? Or how about coffee? Want to start your morning with a Mexican roast from the genius crew at Dark Matter? Well, you can do all those things and support Sacred in the process. Sacred is a not-for-profit that helps improve quality of life in the rural Mexican communities that make heritage agave spirits. We ask Mezcalerics what problems they have, what solutions they imagine to resolve those problems, and what resources they need to enact those solutions. Then we go out and try to find those resources for them. All of those businesses I just mentioned, Bar Sotano, La Barca Cantina, Maine Beer Company, and Dark Matter Coffee, all of them have special offerings on right now that support Sacred. To learn more about these supportive, creative ventures, visit sacredagave.org/fun. That's sacredagave.org/fun, because real fun is also doing real good.
Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip.
I'm not the bank.
One more.
I'm not the bank.
Okay. I'm Lou Bank.
And I am Sergio Garnier.
And this is Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Greek ex-bartenders better understand agave syrup. Wait, no. Agave spirits in rural Mexico. Okay, Sergio. About 3 days ago, you and I recorded an episode about certification. Do you remember that?
Yes.
3 days ago, 4 days ago?
Yes.
Okay. And it was pretty epic. It got kind of
fun.
heated. It was a little heated. A friend of mine said, "Do you guys hate each other?" It's like, no, we love each other. Did you not hear that in the episode? Could you not hear the love in my voice?
That's just the way we talk.
That's just the way we talk. And the fact that we can disagree so much and still come together at this beautiful ranch of yours. We are currently at Rancho
Pelayo.
What is a Pelayo?
Pelayo was a very rich Spaniard that owned like massive part of this land. So that's where the name comes from, Rancho Pelayo.
Okay, so we're at Rancho Colonialist. What is the word I'm looking for? Colonialism?
Colonialista?
Yeah, there you go. So we're at that ranch, and we are going to record a sequel to the episode about certification. And why are we recording a sequel, Sergio?
It's fun, eh?
It's fun. Well, so it is. You're not wrong. But we also, like, you felt after the episode like there were things that points you wanted to make that you did not make.
Actually, so I was very repetitive about including the smaller independent producers, and I was also very insistent in the environmental part of the certification, but we didn't actually talk about what the whole certification process involves. So I think in another episode you and Chava talk about that, but I'm not sure if you talk into
like
detail.
18 years ago.
So I would like to just talk about the other aspects of the certification and what it implies.
Do you want me to be quiet for a little while and you just cover your points?
No, just remember, because, we were saying certification and Comercam owning mezcal, and that's actually not the case. It's the government. It's Mexican government.
Well, absolutely. Well,
So
the
I-
Mexican government defines what mezcal and tequila and bacanora, what they
Exactly.
are, and then there are these certifying bodies, or in the case of tequila, body, right? That in essence, it's kind of like the Supreme Court, right? They don't make the law, but in essence they interpret the law.
Not really. I think they enforce it, or they are
No,
they are
there's
giving
other
the
people
franchise.
enforcing. That's George Bush who enforces it.
They define, so they are the auditors. Like by government, they have the faculty to define what mezcal is and to not interpret, but to audit. Like go and make the sampling and testing and making
Right.
sure the inspection that you are actually doing mezcal.
So talk me through the process then. Explain the points that you want to make.
So we talk about the sourcing of the agave that has to come from actual agave and from a agave that is sourced inside the DO.
Yeah.
That's the first part. So that's where the traceability begins. And I think that's a key word here. That's what certification gives you.
Is traceability.
Traceability all the
Yeah.
way to the plant.
Okay.
But then is the process. So they certify the production unit.
So when you say they certify the production unit in the process, so every time you do a batch, they're standing over you watching it. Is that correct?
Kind of.
Really? You've got somebody
No,
from one of the
so-
certifying bodies who's watching you do what you say you did.
So depending of your area, they will show up like once or twice a month to inspect.
So you're
And
only
you
making
report-
it once or twice a month?
No, so you have a log of everything you produced, and in that log it's very detailed. So you get the agave. We talked about that part in the last episode.
Yeah.
Then you have a log. So you have X
Oh, a
amount
log.
of.
I'm sorry. Like literally you're charting down what you
Yes,
did.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you receive the agave, certain date, specific amount in
Yeah.
tons, and
Yeah.
and then you also have to report an approximate sugar content, because that's the key to actually make sure that you are in a certain parameter that it's reasonable, that you're using 100% agave, and you are not, you can make, I don't know, 100 liters out of, of a significant amount of agave. So
Yeah.
if, they trace that down, and then you log it, and you have your log, and they inspect that. And
Right.
then once you produce it, you seal that. Well, they will take a sample.
Mm-hmm.
They will see that tank or the reservoir where you have the container where you have the mezcal.
Yeah.
And it goes through a lab test.
Yeah.
So there are certain parameters, and there's another aspect that I think is very important. That is, they make sure it's safe to drink.
The lab test.
Yes.
Okay.
So it has to go through
So
certain
everybody's
parameters.
super safe now. They're drinking something that's gone through a lab.
That is not
That
going to
wouldn't
kill
happen
you.
if they weren't right. If it wasn't certified, it wouldn't go through a lab. Keep going.
And then once it's get approved in the lab, then you can bottle that.
Yeah.
And then you again have a log of bottling all the way to commercialize to the selling.
Yeah. Sergio, I don't want to scare you, but I was just in your kitchen earlier today, and I saw a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I just saw a rat.
Did you just describe me as a rat or Jack
No,
Daniels? We
right.
could both be rats.
No,
Literally a rat. Okay, so I saw a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, my friend Adolfo brought that. It was a mouse.
Brought the rat or brought the? Okay, so
Sorry,
I saw a
the
bottle of
mouse
Jack
distracted
Daniels,
me.
and can you tell me the process that went through?
I have no idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
Okay, so they distilled it, they put it in a bottle, and they shipped it to you to Mexico.
Okay.
And you bought it.
Yeah.
Nobody certified it.
Okay.
You've got it in your house. You're drinking it.
Yeah.
Anything happened to you?
I don't care about Jack Daniels. I care
Anything
about mezcal.
happened to you?
And
Did anything happen to you?
no. Nothing
Okay,
happened.
so let me ask you then, can you point me to any examples of people who drank uncertified agave spirits? We know the brands. You and I know the brands we're talking about. Drank the spirits and something happened to them besides pure delight.
I don't know, man, but that's not the point.
What-
the point
what
is
is
just
the point?
certifying that
What is the point?
That the quality of what you're drinking, because
It's not quality.
if no one certifies what mezcal is and is not, then someone can claim
So then let me ask you
like
about
specific random, not even agave spirit or ish or mixed agave with
do you
something
realize
else
that
is
nobody's
mezcal.
certifying all of these Mexican wines? Do you know nobody is certifying?
care,
Actually,
man.
do you know that nobody is
Mezcal
certifying
is our Mexican
Sotal?
treasure. That's
Nobody
a different
nobody is
thing.
certifying Sotal.
No,
Nobody
they
is
are now.
No, they
Yeah,
aren't.
yes.
No, they aren't. They
There's the
aren't.
Omex. Yeah.
No, they aren't. No, like you can put something on the market, call it Sotal, it's not certified.
The thing
Do you know
is,
that nobody's
Sotal is a
certifying
different story because the
Bacanora.
American
Nobody's
government still
certifying
haven't
Raicilla.
accepted Sotal
Nobody's certifying
DO.
whiskey.
That's
Nobody's
different.
certifying rum. Nobody's certifying most of the
I
things
don't
that
care
people are.
about those. I care about mezcal
Why do you care about mezcal?
because it means a lot to us as Mexicans. It's a national treasure, man. It's not just some random drink that you can get like Jack Daniels.
so you
I'm
don't-
glad you brought that example because then you're not getting the point of what mezcal is then.
So you're telling me that if somebody dies in Mexico from drinking Jack Daniels or Mexican whiskey, you don't care. But if they die from drinking mezcal, that,
No,
that
I
you
didn't
care.
say that.
Then
But I
what is the
definitely
point?
care, like mezcal being guaranteed that you're getting something of quality that is safe to drink.
Well,
Because there are some mezcales or called allegedly mezcales that I know that are not 100% agave that could actually be dangerous. I don't know if they're getting to the US. That's a different conversation. And that's what Comercam gives you, or the certification, not just Comercam, because there are 5 certifying bodies. But you have the filters and you have some containers that what you're drinking is mezcal and is safe and it represents everything we have just been talking about.
So I don't want to go down the road again as we did last episode of, well,
With
you know,
tacos
they
compared to
certify
mezcal?
stuff and it's not always what they say it is, right? So I'm not gonna bring that.
I know you're aware of some nasty examples and some nasty cases that have happened in the
I just
past.
said I'm not going to bring that up.
But man,
and that was my way of bringing it up.
Anarchy
But
is
my
not the
point
way
is-
to go.
But it
Let's
is.
help
That
in
is exactly
improving-
my point.
let's
That is
help in-
exact. But anarchy is the way to go. There is no certification for taco. Taco is great.
No,
Sometimes
man.
it gives me explosive diarrhea. Sometimes it doesn't. It's fantastic either way. My point is, if you want to preserve cultural history of mezcal, you cannot separate the families who have been making it for hundreds of years from that word. And that's
Yes.
exactly what certification has done. And if you look at what Bacanora has done to Urumay tribe up in Sonora, it literally stopped them from farming Bacanora, from farming Angustifolia haw. It stopped them from
Pacifica.
farming. Thank you. It stopped them from farming the only agave that you can use to make Bacanora. And as a consequence,
having-
all you have are moneyed people who have no connection to the history of Bacanora making it. And then you've got these tribes who are literally suffering because they cannot any longer grow that agave and use it commercially.
If you have no certification, the great losers will be all these small producers because certification still gives some containers, some barriers, some filters, some enforcement. Having no certification at all will be even worse for them. They will be the great losers. Last time you were talking about how great Lalo Mezcal is, which I agree, Real Minero, a bunch of brands that
I don't think I said they were great, but they are.
certify. But you know them, but there are few Lalos. Very, very, like there's just one Lalo, okay?
Oh, I would
So the
would
small
absolutely agree
producers,
with that,
they
but
will
there
start
are-
competing from a market perspective. They will start competing with everyone else's money in the world to make mezcal, and then that will really separate the families from the Mexican families, their tradition, the Mexican tradition.
The
that
Mexican
mezcal is.
families are already separated from the traditions.
So let's look away. You
know,
talk a lot. So let's look away to include those families into mezcal certification. So I think that's the way to go. And there's now 5 certifying bodies. Maybe there could be a branch that is specifically focused in including those families, in taking a look at the parameters. Why are them being left out, and then include them, and so they can be protected inside the mezcal DO
so
and not left outside. I think
you're
that's
part
the
of
key
Comercam,
conversation.
is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So then what are you doing to change this, to make that happen?
Well, I'm doing something. I can't talk a lot about it, but I'm doing something. It's we're many producers. We have our elections. we elect our, president on
right. So you managed to change the norma so that nobody can use a diffuser anymore to keep that tradition alive, right?
It's a collective effort, and we are thousands of producers. But
and so of the thousands, how many are
producers
using,
that we think alike?
Of the thousands, how many are actually using a diffuser?
A diffuser in mezcal?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea.
2.
Okay.
So why is there still diffuser mezcal? I think you're kidding yourself.
Diffuser mezcal?
Yeah, there's 2. And yet, even as much.
But again, you always take like the worst example and extrapolate that.
That is who I am, Sergio.
That's not representative of what mezcal is. So
well, actually, right now it literally is exactly.
You'll find producers, and you will find like great producers.
Hey! Don't swear on my podcast. Don't swear on my podcast.
You can always edit that,
Okay, Roy, make that sound like instead of suerte, you make it suerte. Suerte producers. Is that a word?
But you know what I mean? And I think having no law at all is not the way to go. Just make it
the way to go.
It's flexible.
Look, there's always some law.
Like
you're saying, you keep saying, like, there's either no law or there's certification. And the truth is, the world exists between those 2 points. The vast majority of things that you consume in Mexico that we even have on this table, there is no certification for Topo Chico.
That's
right?
a terrible
but
example,
there is still a law. It's a great example.
No.
But there is still a law that says
you're
you
separating
can't kill
all
people.
that. Mexico is a country of traditions. For us, that is really valuable.
And yet the traditions are being destroyed by certification.
As a product, as a Topo Chico, as a taco.
I'm not treating it as a
mezcal
product.
Is not
in
like
fact,
that.
the certification treats it as a product by saying it is only this.
And you're leaving out all the producers that work hard.
If you just stop saying that mezcal is only this, then you would be doing exactly what you say. But the problem is the certification is trying to define it as something when in fact it's a lot of different things to a lot of people.
You have to define it. It's by nature, it's arbitrary.
Sure, you could define it like whiskey. Whiskey is any kind of spirit that is distilled from fermented grain. Hey, look, it's
terrible
whiskey.
Example. Again, it has nothing to do with mezcal, to the cultural heritage that mezcal represents.
But it does, and the cultural heritage of mezcal is any distilled beverage that was from fermented agave. And if that were the definition of mezcal, I'd be 100% in.
You know how laws work. You need to be more detailed about it, and that's when it gets tricky. And that's when you, as a group of producers, as partners of Comercam or we're a certifying body, we can move those parameters. Maybe they are not updated. For example, the lab tests, when you produce ancestral mezcal, they always struggle with, let's say, furfural and with certain chemicals. Okay, let's see first, because safety is first. So a tradition used to be to use asbestos tubes for water in houses. That's not safe,
At the time,
for me, that's the only parameter that can prevent you from. Okay, let's make it. We don't want to kill anyone by drinking mezcal.
But there's some people, but
and it's flexible and it's dynamic. So I think if the law is still changeable, let's shape it the way it includes everyone.
Right, and I agree with that.
That is a Mexican producer inside the DO.
Inside the DO. So what's the DO? Is it all of the states? Because in at least 24 states, there is a history. Let's go back to that book from 1897 that documents where mezcal was made. And the vast majority of the places where it was made in 1897 are not allowed to make mezcal. And you can say, well, they don't make it anymore. Well, why don't they make it anymore? I would argue because of the DO. Like, if you really want to make, if you want to make a deal that says anybody who makes in Mexico makes a spirit that is distilled from fermented agave and that is mezcal, I'm in.
I would prefer to see it. You have lechuguilla, you have sotol. Well, isn't that an agave spirit? But you have different DOs. You have bacanora.
You don't. That's exactly my point. You don't. You've got all these families who are left out. If you left this open and anybody who wanted to make a spirit from fermented agave, distill it from fermented agave and call it mezcal, as long as it's anywhere in Mexico, I'm good with that. And then I would, after we solve that problem, then you and I can talk about the families in California and in Texas who used to be part of Mexico, who suddenly got taken over by a bunch of white people who look a lot more like me, and then told, oh, no, you're not Mexico anymore. And then we can have that conversation. But right now,
With
The vast
Sotol, they're
majority
having
of families that I meet when I go on my trips who make these beautiful spirits who are trying to continue their cultural heritage and aren't allowed to.
If you care about them, not certifying is gonna be even worse for them.
I can tell
Guarantee
that.
that.
Absolutely. You're 100% right, because those families right now are not suffering. Those families aren't working for white people. They're working for themselves right now.
There's different cases, man, and you
I
always
agree.
take,
and the vast majority of people who own brands of certified mezcal look a lot more like me than they look like you. And in fact, I would go so far as to say it's not even the vast majority. It's 90% of them look like me and not like you.
and that's gonna get even worse.
I know,
without
because I'm
certification.
horrible, and they're all gonna be horrible
There are
like
be
me.
less filters, less enforcement to prevent, and then these families are gonna just be left out because the
These
mezcal
families
is
are
gonna,
left out.
Is gonna be
These
produced.
are the families that come to me through
Okay,
Sacred and
okay.
say, "Hey,
So
help
they
us
are
get
left
agave,"
out.
because the
Let's look
multinational
at the ways to
corporations who
include
have
them
purchased
in
the
the
mezcal, who have
the
purchased the
mezcal-
mezcal brands,
because they are the ones
buying
who
up the farms
created
where these families
mezcal.
used to access agaves,
I
and they
think we're
can't
not gonna
access them
get
anymore.
anywhere here, man.
Well, that's the whole point. We're not going to get anywhere. and I truly mean that. That's the point. Like, this ongoing argument is going to be an ongoing argument.
Let's
it's
help
not like
improve mezcal.
You
Let's
and
help
I?
improve- No, mezcal. What mezcal is? Everyone. And again, we were talking about the consumers because they have the power to decide what to drink and what to not, what to buy and what to not.
no. The beverage
If they are
directors
given
and the liquor store
information-
owners,
If
they're
they are
the
given the
ones.
right information,
The
and
vast majority
with
of consumers,
certification,
they
you
get
can have the traceability of
traceability
from the plant all the way to the bottle.
I can't tell you how
Without
many
certifying, I don't know
mezcaleros
which
have
other
told
way,
me
because
that are
they are not
certified mezcaleros.
obliged to do it.
Well, nobody's going to understand what we're saying. I can't tell you how many mezcaleros that I have met who are certified mezcaleros who send mezcal up to the USA have told me that they have been told by the certifying bodies that, oh yeah, just bring more stuff in from other producers and we'll certify it. It's easier for us. We don't want to make a bunch of trips in 1 month.
Again, you're taking mistakes and isolated cases.
This is not
that
isolated cases.
Let's
this
help
is the
improve
vast
those.
majority of people where I have this conversation.
Well,
Tell
you
me,
hang out with terrible people then. you need to improve
present
your
company
friends.
excluded. That was good. I like the laugh. That was good. Keep doing that. Look, Sergio, you and I are never going to agree on this,
Yeah.
right? And the truth is, and I think this is the relevant point, right? The truth is, you and I both want to see the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You and I both want to see that these families who have this God, in some cases, multi-century, if not multi-decade, if not multi-century,
Generations.
multiple generations of tradition of making
Who
these spirits.
invented
We want
what mezcal is. You know?
Nah, most of them didn't. But have this tradition, because I don't want to exclude people like Tosba, who I think are really important to the process. They have this tradition that they're trying to carry on. And both you and I want to see these families in Mexico succeeding. You and I have very different ideas of how to ensure that happens.
Yeah.
And when you come right down to it, because this is a podcast that attempts to help Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits in rural Mexico, right? Help them better understand these things and what they should and should not be doing. And the truth is, you and I, as really good friends, right? Who are, at least one of us is adequately intelligent, and one of us has been drinking something that's not quite tequila, right? Like we've got specific opinions as how to do that, and they're so different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how the hell is a bartender? How the hell is a beverage director? How the hell is somebody who's buying for a liquor store supposed to make their buying decisions? And it's impossible right now because they're torn between what do I think is right and what is actually right? How do I help these families? And am I helping the families if I buy from people who are white people who are trying to help these families, and then white people who just want to make money? And how do you tell the difference?
I think it's just being transparent and just digging in, looking
But there's
the
no
information.
transparency.
With with certifications you can get, if you can ask, the information is there. There's a log of
You
the
know,
production.
it's funny. Like you have this,
with
you have this
non-certification, you have
fantasy.
nothing.
You have
It's
this
not a
fantasy
because that's
you
what
have
the way
this
I do it.
fantasy that these certifying bodies are checking to make sure that they know where all of this agave comes from. And you and I both know producers who are certifying their mezcal either for themselves or from a bunch of gringos who own the brands. They bring in agaves from wherever they can get them, and nobody's tracking them.
Yes, that's an issue that we need to improve. But again, having no certification at all would only make it worse.
And yet, in
Because you
Bacanora, we
have
have
a
certification,
filter.
and it's made it worse. And the families who had the tradition of growing the agave and literally having it be part of their cultural heritage, those families no longer have anything to do with agave.
With certification, things are changing now because back at the day, there was just one body. There was Comercam, CRM, the same thing.
And that was definitely a body that needed more exercise. It needed to reduce its diet was horrible.
But now we have 5 certifying bodies who compete among each other to see who makes it better. And then you can see, and I think that's a better way to improve certification, having not just one body at all.
I'm going to let you wrap this one up. What's your wrap up?
I don't know. With you, I can think of let's improve certification to include to include everyone that needs to be included, and to keep mezcal as this national treasure that we have in Mexico.
Okay, I'm gonna, I've got all sorts of thoughts, but I'm just gonna let that be the wrap up. Sergio, thank you so much for inviting me once again to this beautiful ranch that is truly one of my favorite places on earth. When I die, which really could be any day now, and my body is cremated, probably by people who work for Comercam, I want my ashes. That was good. Thank you, guys. I want my ashes, at least part of them. I want some of them spread here. When Pedro's not looking, a little bit on the floor at Mazonte. Connie's going to want to put some into a stuffed animal that she can sleep with. And then the rest, I want to go into your pipe.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will catch you the next time that we have something to argue about. I love you, brother.
I love you too, Lou. You know.
I do know.
Bye.
Hasta pronto.
You've been listening to Agave Road Trip, the critically acclaimed award-winning podcast that helps Gringex bartenders better understand agave spirits, and rural Mexico. We're blessed with sound engineering by Roy Sierra and a theme song performed by Gabriel Oliveira and Marco Ricos. Sign up to become a road tripper and listen to more episodes at agaveroadtrip.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please let us know. And if you hated it, well, I'm sure you'll let us know that too. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram at Agave Road Trip. Agave Road Trip is a production of 10 Angry Pit Bulls, Inc. Agave Road Trip is powered by Simplecast. Thank you for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. To subscribe to the Heritage Radio newsletter, enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org. Connect with Heritage Radio Network on Instagram and Twitter at heritage_radio. You can also find Heritage Radio Network at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a nonprofit organization using the power of educational storytelling about food to build a more equitable, resilient food system. Heritage Radio Network couldn't do that without support from listeners like you. Become a part of the world's most innovative community today. Subscribe to the shows you like. Tell your friends. And please join the Heritage Radio Network family by becoming a member. To become a member of the Heritage Radio Network, click on the beating heart of our homepage. Heritage Radio Network can become addictive. Programming you hear on Heritage Radio Network might lead you to eat, drink, and listen to more programming on Heritage Radio Network. If you drink, please do not drink and drive. Drink responsibly. Drive responsibly. Eat responsibly too. And listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly. To listen to Heritage Radio Network responsibly, wear protective earbuds. While wearing protective earbuds, do not drive. Do not walk either. Sit in a comfortable chair. If that comfortable chair has a hard seat, please remember to stretch every 30 minutes. If you stretch every 30 minutes, please stay within your defined stretching capacity. And consult a doctor who specializes in stretching. If you don't have a doctor, maybe Dr. Ryan Acock, the Cocktail MD, can help you out. Thanks for listening.
Agave Road Trip out.